The fork clinked against porcelain. Too loud. Or maybe everything felt loud when a man decided to humiliate you in your own house. "You're not even half the man my 16-year-old grandson is," my wife's father said, smiling like he'd done me a favor. He liked performances. He liked an audience. He liked me small. I didn't look at him. I stared at the steam lifting off the roast, thin and patient. I felt something settle inside me. Not anger, precision. I pushed my chair back, slow, deliberate. "Then he can start paying your salary," I said. Silence. "Because you're fired." He laughed first, a reflex. Then he saw my face and stopped. "Salary?" he said. "What salary?" That was the moment the room tilted. I had married into his world with my sleeves rolled and my mouth shut. He was moneyed confidence. I was quiet competence. He called it luck when my ideas worked. He called it mentorship when my labor built his balance sheets. I let him. I learned him. For 12 years, I watched how he treated people when he thought they were owned, how he cut sentences short, how he never finished listening, how he mistook patience for weakness. He paid me through a consulting firm he didn't know he didn't control. He liked the fiction. I maintained it. We had dinners like this one before. Jabs disguised as jokes. Smiles sharpened into knives. My wife would squeeze my knee under the table. "Please, just let it go." I always did. Not because I was afraid, because I was counting. The betrayal didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived as a footnote, a delayed payment, a revised clause, a casual mention of transitioning leadership over coffee he insisted on paying for. I noticed the language had changed. Past tense where there should have been present. We had discussed. We were aligned. I checked the filings that night. Then the trust documents. Then the proxy statements buried beneath charitable press releases. He'd moved to cut me out. Quietly, confidently. He thought I was an employee. He forgot I was an architect. That was the night grief turned into geometry. I didn't confront him. I prepared. I pulled contracts I'd drafted years ago and reread the margins. I called an old friend who never asked questions and always closed doors. I reconstructed ownership through shell clarity. Not shells, clean, legal, boring enough to be invisible. I let him believe the transfer was done. I let him believe the board was loyal. I let him believe the son-in-law was still grateful. Meanwhile, the retirement trust, my retirement trust, finished its quiet work. Voting rights activated on a calendar he never checked. 76%, a number that ends conversations. I slept well. Back at the table, his face had gone pale in stages. Confusion first, then calculation, then fear trying not to show itself. "You don't employ me," he said. "I employ you." I finally met his eyes. "You used to," I said, "before you signed what you didn't read." My wife stared between us. I didn't look at her. Not yet. This wasn't cruelty. This was containment. He reached for his phone. I shook my head once. He stopped. "By Monday morning," I said, "the board will convene an emergency meeting. They'll ask a simple question." I stood, leaned in just enough for him to hear. "Who just fired the person who owns 76% of the shares?" The room exhaled without him. Monday arrived like a verdict. The boardroom was glass and wood, and the smell of expensive indecision. I sat at the far end. He sat at the head out of habit, not authority. Old muscle memory dies hard. They opened with procedure. I waited, let the numbers speak. When the chair finally cleared his throat and announced the ownership structure, I watched a lifetime of dominance collapse into posture correction. He tried to interrupt. He wasn't recognized. They asked him to step out. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I signed what needed signing. I voted where votes were required. I declined a press statement. Power doesn't explain itself. The fallout was quieter than people imagine. Titles removed. Access revoked. A driver reassigned. The house stayed. The mirror didn't. At home that night, my wife cried. Not for the money, for the myth. I held her and told her the truth I'd been saving. "I never wanted to beat him," I said. "I wanted him to stop." She nodded into my shoulder. She understood more than she'd let herself. My son asked why Grandpa wasn't coming over anymore. I told him grown men sometimes lose games they didn't know they were playing. He smiled, proud, not of me, of the calm. Now, when I think back to the dinner, the fork, the roast, the line about my son, I don't feel heat. I feel symmetry. He taught me how power speaks when it thinks it's alone. I taught him how silence listens. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't raise my hand. I raised the document he ignored. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it clears its throat, waits for Monday, and takes the vote.